Okay, good afternoon. It's Monday, March 18th. We're in conference room 224, 3 p.m. agenda. Joint committees on labor and technology and higher ed for a number of two House bills. Okay, before we get started, the event that something catastrophic happens with YouTube or anything, we're going to come back on Wednesday the 20th at 3 p.m. in room 224. Okay? And we do have a 2-minute testimony limit, but it's highly recommended that you stand on your written testimony. Yeah? All right. Up first, House Bill 2720, into collective bargaining. Up first, we have UH.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Deborah Halbert, Vice President for Academic Strategy. I do stand on my written testimony, but I did want to make one clarification of a number that has been circulating. About 80% of courses being taught by graduate students. In February 2023, we had 498 graduate teaching assistants. So those are the folks that would have been teaching courses. Of the 2,543 undergraduate sections, that would be excluding independent studies or those types, taught at UH Manoa, a total of 579 sections, or 22.7%, involved a teaching assistant of some kind. 187 sections had a GA and the instructor of record, or as the instructor of record, which would have been 7.3%. So we just wanted to clarify some of the data on what and where the students are teaching. And I in no way mean this to undermine the quality of the work that they're doing or the services that they do provide. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have BNF Director. Saw him earlier. Okay, with comments. Okay, up next, we have Benjamin Wiseman.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chair, members of the committee. I'm Ben Wiseman. I'm here with the Graduate Student Organization of the University of Hawaii at Manoa. I'm also a graduate research assistant and PhD student, and GSO unanimously passed a resolution in support of this bill, and we stand on that resolution's written testimony.
Okay, thank you very much. Up next, we have HSTA.
Good afternoon. President Tui couldn't be here today. I'm Andrea Eshelman, the Deputy Exec. We stand on our written testimony. I'm available for any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we have UPA. Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Okay, up next we have NEA, Tom Israel on Zoom.
Hello, my name is Danielle Duraco, and I'm here on behalf of Tom Israel and the National Education Association. I'm a higher education organizational specialist with NEA, and I join you tonight to thank you very much for the opportunity to testify and to again express our commitment, the National Education Association's commitment in our steadfast support for Academic Labor United's efforts to unionize. Specifically, I want to highlight that we are here to support reverting HB 2720 HD3 to HD2, which more appropriately uphold the constitutional right of all grad workers to collectively bargain. I just want to share with the room, I have witnessed myself that Academic Labor United is ready to unionize. They have the support that is necessary. They have the resources that are necessary. They have the expertise that is necessary. Now is the time to support them in their efforts to form their union appropriately with the support of this committee. I urge you all to push this bill forward so that we are able to provide the support that we have been prepared to provide for the last couple of months, and are looking forward especially to seeing them through the recognition process and as they form their mighty union. Thank you very much, Mahalo, for the opportunity to participate.
Hey, thank you very much. Okay, up next we have Diane Diauna.
It's a little too close. Good afternoon, Chair Senator Henry Aquino and Senator Donna Mercado Kim, as well as the members of the Labor and Technology and Higher Education Committees. I'm Diane Diauna, Teaching Assistant from Oceanography, and I'm the Chair of Academic Labor United. We stand in strong support of HB 2720, but we contend that it must be reverted from HD3 to HD2. HD3, the current version of the bill as it stands, simultaneously creates bargaining unit 16 for graduate student workers and classifies them as a class of workers that shall not be included in any bargaining unit nor entitled to coverage under Chapter 89-6. We recognize that the legislature has the power to place public employees in the exempt workers category, as detailed in Chapter 89-6. However, doing so for graduate student workers directly interferes with their constitutional right to collectively bargain as public employees, which the Supreme Court in UBW versus Yogi already ruled that the legislature cannot do so. Having both amendments creates a legal contradiction, since graduate student workers were placed under the exempt category, barring them from coverage under Chapter 89-6. This removes their ability to eventually file any petition to the HLRB, much less for inclusion in bargaining unit 16. And finally, since the law in the HLRB looks to the legislature to create new bargaining units first, having Unit 16 take effect only after the HLRB certifies it is a clear abdication of legislative authority. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony, and I will be able to answer questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Up next, we have HGA. Okay, with comments. Okay, we have Elizabeth Yen Zhu Liu. Okay, in support. Okay, Chris Caulfield, Jason Bradshaw, Chris Caulfield again, Michael Loyu Sr., Michael Loyu Jr., Ronald Sturgis.
Aloha, good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, other members of the committee. My name is Ronald Sturgis. I'm the Vice Chair of the UH Student Caucus. That's the University of Hawaii Student Caucus. We represent, formally, we are authorized to serve as a system-wide association of students from each student campus government across all 10 campuses in the UH system. We unanimously share a position of support for House Bill 2720 with a specific request to have its language amended back to the, how it was written in HD2. Thank you very much for allowing me to testify.
Okay, thank you very much. Up next, we have Miles Drakowski.
How's it? Chair Mercado Kim, Chair Kano, members of the committee, I appreciate the opportunity to offer my testimony today. My name is Miles Drakowski. I'm a civil engineering graduate worker as well as an organizer with Academic Labor United, and I'd like to voice my strong support in reverting HB 2720 HD3 back to 2720 HD2. Firstly, I want to say that we're proud to have the support of and stand in solidarity with UPA. We recognize the vital role that UPA members play in our professional and academic lives. Now, we've previously estimated that 80% of students are affected by TA labor during their course of study, based on the available data that we had. This estimate does not imply that TAs teach 80% of classes. This is not the case, merely that our contributions and our labor during our employment will collectively account for 80% of the graduate students during their course of study. The important truth here is that the university doesn't function without our labor. In addition to making valuable and significant contributions to advancing our respective fields, we affect so much of the student body. The labor central to our struggle doesn't subtract from the labor of others, nor does it negate the value and the significance of that labor. Our desire is that we are all recognized for the contributions we have poured our emotional and physical labor into. We believe that any attempts to minimize the vital role that graduate workers and our colleagues in UPA play in the future of our communities and this island represent an ignorance of the true value that we all bring. Our collective contributions cannot simply be a ledger entry to be tallied and summed up. This is not a zero-sum calculation. 100% of undergraduate students will eventually in some way be affected by graduate workers, and 100% of students will eventually be affected by UH faculty. We firmly resolve to stand in solidarity with UPA in our collective struggle to have our labor recognized and fairly compensated. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to testify before you today.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have Sarah Maria Sastamoinen. Did I get that right?
That was perfect. It's phonetic, just doesn't look intimidating. Aloha, terve, chairs, committee members. I'm Sarah Maria Sastamoinen, she, they pronouns. I'm a third-year PhD student in political science and a graduate teaching assistant. I support reverting HB 2720 HD3 back to HD2, which upholds the constitutional right of graduate assistants to collectively bargain. I stand behind my written testimony and want to add additional color about how the university works with the GSO. In 2021 to 2022, I was elected the Academic Affairs Chair of the Graduate Student Organization, which means I worked with UH deans and faculty on issues including both academic and graduate student grievances. Representing graduate students to the Graduate Faculty Council, Provost Council, and Faculty Senate, a key issue I worked on was the punitive practice of academic probation. When students pass the recommended time of their program while still being within the maximum time limits, UH puts academic probation on our transcripts. This could happen if a student took courses part-time while caring for a sick family member or got sick with COVID-19. Imagine what employers and funders think when they see academic probation. They assume the person cheated, or worse, not that they're simply a few years away from the deadline to finish their program. This draconian measure impacts graduate students applying for research funding, fellowships, postdoctoral positions, and faculty jobs upon graduation. I talk about this because I worked for 7 months to garner graduate student testimony and faculty support for changing this policy. In May 2022, the Faculty Council then unanimously agreed this practice should be stopped. This, however, didn't occur. Instead, UH decided, without further graduate student input, that they wanted to keep the academic probation notation policy, even as it hinders the financial security and job prospects of their students. Our constitutional right to union would allow us to actually successfully work with UH to create working conditions for us as both students and workers. Without a union, our efforts to organize frequently are undone by UH. Mahalo nui and pasibo.
Okay, thank you very much. Up next, we have Noel Iaki. Okay, support Will Caron, Jun Chin, Olivia Meyer, Daniela S. Contrella, Monica Orillo, John Nightingale, all in support. And we have at least 20, 30 or so all in support. We do have Hannah Mancho with comments. Any others wishing to testify? No?
Aloha, Chair Kino, Chair Kim, and committee members. My name is Lily Fisher. I'm a graduate assistant in the American Studies Department at UH Manoa and an organizing chair with Academic Labor United. I'm here to testify in support of reverting HB 2720 HD3 to HD2, which upholds the constitutional right of graduate assistants to collectively bargain. The University of Hawaii could not run without grad student labor. Collective bargaining will allow graduate students to harness the power of our labor to address structural inequities in student salaries, treatment, and security. We deserve to represent ourselves and negotiate with the administration as a collective, and we've proven that we're capable of doing so. For years and without institutional support, ALU has created avenues to serve the unique needs of our diverse membership. We're a truly grassroots organization committed to creating a union built on principles of community care and inclusivity that can attend to the intersecting needs of every graduate student. I've been working with ALU for over 2 years, and I've listened to many stories of the compounding academic, economic, and interpersonal stresses that make life as a GA unsustainable. But I've also seen ALU emerge as a space and resource in which we can seek sustenance from our community. I'm so inspired by the brilliant workers that compose our membership, and seeing, in spite of numerous roadblocks and our own heavy workloads, our numbers continue to grow. We're becoming more organized, better resourced, and more committed to one another and our mission for a union. We're going to continue to work for the rights that we know we deserve because we genuinely care about keeping each other safe and about making higher education accessible to people of all socioeconomic backgrounds. We also know that a graduate student union will benefit not only the students and workers of UH, but workers in Hawaii more broadly. We're here asking for support and a legal pathway to do what we've already been doing, which is to care for our community. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Okay, thank you very much. Any others wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none, members, questions. Chair.
Yeah, I have a question. Sarah, can you come back up?
Hi.
So, and any one of you could answer this question, but I've read in other testimonies and heard that part of the problem is that the graduate assistants seem to be overburdened with number of classes, and that if you folks complain, then you concerned about retaliation because the professors you would be complaining about are the ones that you are working for. Is that any truth to that? Or?
I think there is truth to that. So when I was the academic affairs chair, I was the person who was trained on all of the graduate division policies for academic and graduate grievances, who graduate students would go to, and most frequently students did not want to go through the proper channels because you have to list and document everything and show it to your superior, and that's still the person who would need to write your letters of recommendation for any future jobs or anything else, but there's no other pathways that we have to actually address grievances that are outside of a system built without us, and that when we raised concerns about it in training was just, this is the thing that we've had to build legally.
I raised that because I listened to the testimony of the person before you, Miles, who said folks are in solidarity with UPA, but yet it's UPA members who are the ones that are doing this. So have you folks approached UPA as far as, making sure that they would give you folks equal kinds of work and fair labor practices?
I think, do you want to take this? Yeah, thank you. Let me.
Well, I have one more question for you too.
Do you want to come up and?
Why don't I finish?
Oh,
asking then?
great.
And then you talked about the amount of money that you make. How much in tuition? What's your tuition?
I pay out of state tuition. So I'm trying to think of exactly what it is off the top of my head, but it's like, what is it? 12, 13, I think it's 10,500 up to 13,000, depending on how many credit hours I take.
Per semester.
Per semester, depending on how many credit hours I take.
Okay, so you could actually $25,000, $22,000 a year in tuition waivers? Is that approximately?
No, I don't ever actually receive that money.
No, but they're waivers, right? Would be tuition waivers.
The tuition waivers are in the amount of, I believe, 12,000 in the fall.
Yeah, but per semester, so.
Per semester, so 12,000 in the fall, yeah.
So about 24,000 a year, if you went a full
Sure.
year.
Yeah, I think it depends on the amount of coursework
And if you
students
didn't
take.
have the waivers, that would be out-of-pocket costs, right?
It could be either out-of-pocket costs or other funding that I would have to cover it. So there are other ways to get tuition waivers
Understand.
or to
I'm
get
just trying
funding
to-
for it, like fellowships. So there are certain fellowships that require you not to have any other things that would offset funding. For example, there's fellowships I can apply for because I have a tuition waiver as a worker. So it doesn't necessarily mean I would be paying for that out of pocket.
Right, but somehow that cost would be attributed for your education. Okay, thank you. Okay.
So yeah, to clarify the statement regarding UPA, so there are members of faculty that may have, that graduate student workers may have grievances against, but that does not mean that the entirety of UPA is responsible for that
Yeah, I
behavior.
understand. Just like the entire legislature, which we get blamed for and are not, but we get blamed anyway by the unions. So I'm just saying that if you're talking about solidarity by the unions and by UPA, and they're the members that are in fact violating or making you guys want to go to a union because you don't have certain rights, the fact that they're a union, you would think that they would want equal rights for you as well. So I'm just, concerned when you folks use such words because they come here and they don't come in person necessarily, but they come here and talk about, that you folks should get it. But then what are they doing to helping you folks? And the UH as well, I think, is a culprit in that they're not helping to make your workplace, equal or reasonable as far as you folks doing the work. And I think it's unfair. And yet you have nowhere to go, which is crazy that you should be in that position.
And so trying to understand that UPA has supported the formation of a collective bargaining unit for graduate student workers ever since that any kind of legislation
Yes, but that's
is
not the
introduced
question.
in
The question is
2012.
whether or not they've helped you folks in resolving some of your issues with their members.
Well, so the thing is that UPA has a union, and so there is a process by which grievances are acknowledged because they have a union. Because graduate student workers do not have a union, even though you have faculty that may be supportive, even though you may have the graduate, I think our interim graduate division chair was held testimony to that they can offer us options, they can offer us all these pathways, but because we do not have that union, we do not have that legal framework by which we can kind of accommodate these policies, then there's a limit what can be
Yeah,
done.
but labor practices are labor practices, whether you have a union or not, right? I mean, you would think in this day and age, the University of Hawaii would recognize some of these labor practices or policies or the way they're running things that shouldn't be going on. And so should the union. And so that's all I'm raising, that's a concern that I raise when, you guys talk about solidarity. Yes, maybe for you folks to have a union, but whether or not they're there to assist you in making sure that their labor practices and what's going on and how they're treating you folks in the workplace is fair.
So again, these are individual members of UPA, Senator, and so we're not trying to blame it on UPA as a union as a whole, because there are these policies in place, and there is a way for the members to be held accountable, because they are a union. And for example, if there were some grievances between, UPA and the UH, they have that recourse. But because graduate student workers do not have a union,
No, I understand.
then
what you're
there's,
saying. I'm just saying that these are issues that if you folks don't get this bill passed, that you'd be in the same situation. And the university, shame on them for not stepping up to make sure that you folks are adequately taken care of for the work that you do. And similar to the union, that you folks are not getting treated adequately or the way you guys think you should be.
and so
it's
with
not
the
a blame,
union,
it's so
we
much
could
as a fact.
really push for that kind of fair treatment. Because right now, there's no legal accountability framework where there's no legal framework by which we can hold them accountable, similar to what Sarah said, even though a policy is unanimously supported by the faculty council. I think if you've listened to,
The executive management has no union and they want to be treated correctly and equally, right? And they do, and they raise their issues with UH without having a union. So you don't have to have a union. I'm just saying that the treatment of the graduate assistant, necessarily just having a union is not going to necessarily solve all your problems, because even though you go by grievance, you ask how many union members, and I know because my mom was a shop steward for her union, and that it doesn't get resolved. Just because you file a grievance doesn't necessarily mean it gets resolved.
but truly, Senator, there is a recognition that a unionized worker has more power because of that collective bargaining unit, because of being able to negotiate a contract rather than a non-unionized worker. Is there that recognition of the difference between a unionized and a non-unionized worker?
Yes, and you still have people that opt out of being in the union and they still get the same rights, so. But thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Any other questions, Vice Chair?
Dr. Halbert. Afternoon. So the students are saying that they have brought concerns up, they don't feel protected, and so the university has a process. Why are they saying that they haven't been treated well and protected by faculty who may be abusing their position?
Could I ask that our Dean of Graduate Education come up to help answer that question? Because there are processes in place at Manoa, but I believe she's been more involved in.
Afternoon.
Announce yourself, please.
Julianne Maeda, Interim Dean, Graduate Division. There is a process for graduate students as well as graduate assistants to share their concerns or report concerns about how they're being treated, neglected, all kinds of different things. In order for the university to move forward with any type of investigation, we do require a formal complaint. Most of the graduate students that come talk to me, they do not want to file a formal complaint. They do not want the respondent to know that they filed a complaint, even though there are options on, and we have had cases where they could change their committee and reconfigure it so they were not part of that, I guess, in that relationship or in that environment anymore with the mentor or whoever it is that might be causing an inappropriate environment for them. But the vast majority do not want to go through the investigation process.
So if they form a union and they have representation, do you think how would the process be so that we can protect our students, have them finish up their studies and graduate?
I think it would
proper
be
support?
similar to the way faculty and staff, if they reported a situation, it would be a similar process where they would invite their union representative, or I mean, if they went forward formally. I don't know too many employees that have, just in my own experience, due to similar concerns of retaliation or just unfair treatment, perhaps. I think it would be similar in that sense. There would still be the fear of retaliation and not having the situation completely resolved. And I mean, and I get it. I get very frustrated because I can't do anything to help them because they don't want to go forward. And as part of due process, we have to. I mean, we can't move forward investigating someone if that someone doesn't know that they're being investigated.
So just going to, maybe it's for, so in terms of one of the other concerns that they brought up is the salary compensation and being overworked. Is there any standard so that you do monitor and assess that they're not being worked overly, over the 20 hours or whatever hours, and that they are compensated, there's a way of raising their salaries?
So we do have policy under review right now, and sometime in the next few weeks, we'll be meeting again to go through the comments from the formal consultation that would increase the salary steps for GAs another 10 steps. So instead of stopping at 20, which is currently $35,000, it would go up to 30. That's at 52,000. At that point, we're starting to hit a salary that if doubled to a full-time 1 FTE would be more than what many of our faculty make. So there's concerns that we would need to balance in terms of that as well.
So what is the salary now of your different steps?
So the steps start, well, at Manoa, I believe you start at step 12, correct?
This year is currently step 12.
Step 12, which is $25,908. And again, that's part-time.
That's for an 11-month GA.
For 11-month GA. The other part of that, though, is, oh, yeah, sorry, I'm looking at both. I didn't have 9 in them. And so for step 12, for the 9-month GA, it's $22,140. So that's the starting step. Now, the other part of your question is the workload piece, and that's always a really difficult question to answer because there is the 20 hours part-time work, but then oftentimes these are students who, if they're a research GA, are potentially working on the work that is part of their doctoral dissertation. So how you choose to categorize any given thing. I mean, it's similar to what faculty work is, right? If I'm reading for my course, is that work or is that fun? I don't know, right? It's just all part of what we have to do in preparing for both our scholarship and our teaching. So there's always going to be some fuzziness around the end. Now, in TAs or GAs who have a more discrete kind of workload, then it should be easier to be able to identify the starting and stopping points. But the other part of it, I mean, this is obviously infinitely complex, is that if you're assigned to teaching a class, not all the work happens in a 20-hour work week, right? Sometimes it'll be more, sometimes it'll be less, depending on the waxing and the waning of the work in the course. So
what do you say when they say that the university couldn't run without grad assistants?
I think that in addition to that, graduate students, this is a critical professional development training for graduate students. So for those who are going on into the academy, this may be the opportunity they have to teach a class or to be mentored by someone who's teaching a class. So it's a critical part of what we do at the university. And also for the research component, both for their personal research, but also for the research that they will go on to do in their professional careers. There's these critical parts of what graduate students do that's important.
So are they taking on loads that should be done by faculty?
No, I think I mean, and again, I think Julie can speak in more detail to the specifics of what's happening at Manoa, but it's an important relationship, and it's one in which, you know, and again, it's not to say that that it's perfect, right? There are definitely problems that need to be addressed. Would you like to add to that?
No, I think what Dr. Halbert shared is accurate. It is a complicated issue.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, Senator Favela.
Just going forward, I mean, listening on the complication and going forward, the students cannot be representative within one union, but they keep talking about these UMPA, whatever, I don't know. people that he's supposed to be setting in unity with them. Whereas those guys who setting unity with them, representing on their behalf to their fellow colleagues. I mean, if I gotta advocate for somebody in my community with one of my colleagues, I'm gonna advocate. It's just how much of them gonna have advocation from them going forward when we come into the union, because they kind of keep waiting to become union and keep getting passed. You guys telling me they're getting $12. So how can we get more of that to help them so they can move forward? Right, you heard how much of a thing came up, said, right? I don't know all the acronyms they had over there, but I heard about 3 or 4 of them said unified, and I know what unification means. That means we unified as one. But it doesn't seem, I think there's a disconnect between them and the unification, because unification means they're advocating, and they're not advocating. They're just giving the verbal, I'm with you, girl.
Well, I can't speak for the unions, but I would like to highlight something that Dr. Maeda had said, which is that in the process of making a complaint right now, a faculty member would come forward and have union representation. In this case, it would also be something potentially a graduate student could do for their own, if they are engaged in a complaint process, is that they would have an advocate for them. Now, whether or not that means all unions will unite, I cannot tell, but that's different.
Yeah, but the thing is what you're saying. So students make a complaint, blackballed. Oh, they're not going to use them because they're blackballed. And you can't say the university not going to do that because they're very, well, anyway. So going forward, how can we end up protecting them? Because that's the reason why they came to us, right? They want to feel some kind of protection of being used and misused and abused for decades or years. I don't know how long. Abercrombie said he created them, so I don't know. Since Abercrombie, how long is that? See, so how can we, again, help them? Because I heard something about $12. How much they get paid an hour? $12 an hour?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Step 12. Step
Okay.
12, step 12.
Okay, sorry.
25,000.
Okay.
25,000.
I was like, bro, they're getting ripped off. Okay. Thank you, Chair. If whatever you guys can help, because we want to help them, how can we help them if we don't have the tools to do it? So, thank you, Chair.
Senator Kidani.
Thank you. So do you have a number or percent of other universities that have unions for grad students?
I should have looked that up before. I don't have that right here, but I bet the students do, though.
Yeah, it's quite a number.
Yeah, it's quite a few.
Right.
And very large systems as well, like California's system has unionized grad students, so.
So specifically, is the university administration against unionizing your grad students? Yes or no?
They're not in favor.
We are taking no position because this is a legislative matter.
But it's a legislative matter because you folks have made it that way.
Well, since they have no position, I think we should support the grad students.
So you responded to Senator Moriwaki that when she asked you about whether the university could function without grad assistants, and your answer, you didn't really answer that question, but your answer was no more that this program is for the benefit of the grad students and not necessarily for the university. So I would take that as the answer is, yes, you guys could function without graduate assistants.
I would like Manoa to answer that, but I don't think that a Research One institution can function without graduate students. Would you like to?
That is correct.
Okay, so let's get that on the record, because the way you answered it didn't sound that way to somebody listening where you didn't really answer the question.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I highlighted what I think some of the value of that
Right.
is.
The value were more towards the grad assistants than it was to the faculty, because technically the faculty should be teaching your classes if there's no grad assistants to teach them, right?
But not all grad assistants teach. Many are research faculty or research assistants, and many of those who do teach are, in the classroom or TAing sections, so.
Okay. So, Dr. Maeda, the number of complaints that you receive, I mean, it's kind of well known, right, or well documented at Manoa that there's these issues surrounding grad assistants.
Yes,
right?
that's
It's kind of
correct.
well known. So the fact that it's well known, why do I have to need an investigation? Why couldn't there be whole system changes to address these issues? Why do you have to wait for individual investigations when you know that it's problematic? It's a question to UH. Right? You guys know it's there, yet you kind of say, well, there's a process. Oh, well, you know, we have to go through this. We have to wait for an investigation. And these students fear for retaliation, and not just them that fear. Trust me, I get calls from faculty that belong to the unions that don't do grievances, and that's why I bring that up. Because they're not, no matter who represents you, you're still going to be known to that professor that you filed a grievance. And it doesn't always get resolved. I get so many faculty that call me, and they either quit or they file lawsuits. I just got 2 last week. They're filing lawsuits, you know, for hostile work environment, for some other reasons. But if you folks know that this is there, well, why haven't there been wholesale changes, system changes?
For the students who have come to see me, one, they're all different faculty. So it's not necessarily all in the same. Now, if it was in the same unit, then
No, but then it should be for the whole university. Why is it only one unit? I mean, you know, what's good for one should be good for the other. So whether you have graduate assistants not being violated or not being protected, others that are, the fact is the whole university should have a same kind of policy to protect them all. Right?
we do have policies against a hostile work environment, hostile academic environment.
But it's a prevalent, then it's not working. Something's not working. Enforcement's not working. Something's not working. So why hasn't you guys, I mean, technically, I always hear this, that, you know, a lot of the university, they're the brightest minds in the state, right? They're the brightest minds in the state. They get paid a lot of money in the state. They do a lot of research. So how you guys can't resolve this issue? One of basic labor practices and you know, treatment of your employees.
Actually, if I can clarify, though, for most of the students who have come to talk with me, they're not a GA. They're a graduate student. I've maybe had 2 come to speak with me, maybe 3 in the 10 years I've been with the graduate division. And so those are very few and far between. We do have advocates now for them. And actually, the advocates out of the Manoa Cares office was created primarily to help graduate students, especially with the concerns that they have.
Okay, but the fact that you've said that it's kind of well known, that why aren't we addressing them, whether they're GAs or whether they're grad students, it shouldn't be occurring. And yeah, they're never going to be a perfect system, but it shouldn't be this prevalent. Right?
Yes, I mean, but we do offer trainings for the faculty. It's just a matter of making them much more, I guess, annual, and to encourage all of the faculty to attend.
Okay, so one last thing, I just want to make sure, so all those grad students that are supporting this understand that whether you are represented or not by a union rep for a grievance, you file a complaint, this complaint is going to be made known to the person that you're filing it against, right? And that not all grievances get resolved to the liking of the people bringing it up, right? And there's still retaliation that go on despite that, right?
Even though we have policies against it, yes.
Right, and even though you have a union, you still have issues.
Yes.
Right, okay, just so that they know that this is not the panacea, because it's still going to occur. And because I get union members call me and they don't want to file a grievance. They don't want to go, they don't even want to go on the anonymous whistleblower, because they feel that they're still going to somehow be found out, and they fear for their jobs. Even though they may be tenured, they still do. So, okay, thank you.
I have a quick question. So what's your reading on the current House draft? It's a little confusing. In one section, it says they can bargain, and then another section that says they're exempt from bargaining. I mean, since you shared your position, can you share on the House's position?
I'm not sure I can speak to how that should be resolved. It seems contradictory to have it in both of those sections the way it is currently written.
Members, any other questions? Seeing none, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank
move
you.
on to the next item on the agenda, which is House Bill 2501, House Draft 1. This is relating to the University of Hawaii reporting requirements, repeals the reporting requirement to identify the cost impacts to the state of providing workers' compensation coverage for the University of Hawaii students. And first testifier is Jan Govea. There she is, walked in. Great timing, Jan. Thank you.
The University of Hawaii stands on its written testimony in support of this measure.
Okay. You are the only one testifying. Members, any questions of Ms. Govea? No questions. Good for you. Okay. Anyone else wishing to testify on this measure? Okay, nobody else. So with that, we're going to go into decision making.
We're going to recess briefly. Thank you. Okay, reconvening our 3 p.m. joint agenda with the Labor and Technology Committee and the Committee on Higher Education. Members, the recommendation, the decision-making on 2 bills. Recommendation on the first one, House Bill 2720, House Draft 3, relating to collective bargaining. After conferring with the Chair of Higher Education, we will be recommending a Senate Draft 1 to remove all contents of the current draft and insert Senate Bill 3317, Senate Draft 1, that effectuates a bargaining unit 16, and insert also a definition of grad assistant, I believe.
That's already in the
Yes. And we're gonna keep the date defective for now, okay? Any questions or concerns, members?
Just recommend in the committee report that we put in about the fact that, being a union, organized union doesn't necessarily is a panacea to resolve a lot of the issues which still have to be addressed by the University of Hawaii. Some form of fashion.
Okay, we'll go ahead and insert that, Chair, in the committee report.
So
Vice
I
Chair.
know that there's another bill with criteria for how you create a bargaining unit, so I'd like that so I would go WR unless we can put that, say, in the conference committee report to say that it should be a determination with some criteria for bargaining. Yeah, can we put that?
We probably could.
Put the language in the bill?
Yeah.
No, in the committee report, yeah.
So it's sort of like conditioned so that there are criteria by which we do it in HLR. Okay.
I believe we can
Then
do
with
that.
and I'll-
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that in the committee report to make mention of a bill that would help address
To have
future
criteria by
issues. Yes.
HLRB
Yes.
for determination.
Going forward, okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any other questions or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, HB 2720, passed with amendments. Chair?
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Ikara? Aye. Senator Lee? Aye. Okay, Senator Favela?
Aye.
Okay, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you.
And for higher education, House Bill 2720, House Draft 3, same recommendation to amend to the Senate version that we passed out, and with the inserts into the committee report. Any discussion? Harriet, members, hearing none, chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Fukunaga, excuse, Senator Hashimoto,
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Measures adopted, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. And for House Bill 2501, House Draft 1, this is for removing the reporting for workers' compensation. Recommendation is to do an SD1, basically technical amendments, correcting any legal, technical, or substantive amendments. Any discussion? If not, Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Fukunaga excused, Senator Hashimoto.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Measures adopted, Madam Chair.
Okay, Labor and Technology Committee, same recommendation. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Any members vote no with reservation, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, we're
We're
adjourned.
adjourned. Thank you.
you. Calling to order the Joint Committee of Education and Committee on Labor and Technology. Today is Monday, March 18th, the 3:02 p.m. agenda, and we are in room 224. First item on the agenda is House Bill 2400 HD2 relating to education. And to testify, Superintendent, please.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Department stands as written testimony support.
Thank you. Next to testify, Ann Horiuchi.
Good afternoon, Chairs Kirani and Aquino, members of the committee, and Horiuchi, Department of the Attorney General. As we stated in our testimony, in order to align the bill with terminology currently used in statute, the department recommends substituting the word surrender with the word forfeit or forfeiture as applicable. I'll be available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Next to testify, Felicia Villalobos.
Good afternoon. Why don't you just stand on the written testimony?
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on this measure? Angela?
Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of Kapalama Neighborhood Security Watch. In strong support, so this policy will set forth an act to add predators and offenders to the National Association of State Directors of Teacher Education and Certification, which maintains an interstate agreement with the Hawaii Teacher Standards Board. It is unacceptable for offenders accused of abuse to evade accountability by relocating to different jurisdictions or institutions. This act then will make sure potential employers in an educational setting are aware of the unlicensed statuses of these offenders. So I think the terms of this law can benefit from more specificity, especially if it is dealing with grave offenses in the Penal Code of Title 37 of the Hawaii Revised Statute. So I'd like to point to an example that this policy can copy. It also has to do with protecting students from abuse and integrating the levels of care in response to child abuse. This policy I'd like to refer to as House Bill 2425, an expungement of the central registry to equip those working with children, youth, and families. So with the expungement of central registry in a response to integrate the levels of care to protect students from child abuse, the records of child abuse and neglect reports are maintained by the state child protection or social services offices. And there's a process to get evidence to confirm abuse and then a process for clearing of expungement from the records. So this is data from the Child Welfare Information Gateway Office, an office from the United States Department of Health and Human Services. And so it refers very specifically to child abuse in the state law of what defines harm. Harm means section 587A. Threatened harm means the same chapter, 587A, which is the Child Protective Act. So back to this bill, HB 2400, it needs to have more specificity to refer to the penal code of what are the degrees of sexual assault. Class C felonies and Class B and Class A felonies vary in the degree of the sexual assault portrayed by actors as per the penal code. So I think it will be more specific for the sexual abuse offenders to get the penal code chapter in there.
Thank you, Angela. Members, any questions on this? Members? Questions on testimony?
Just, Billy. I see that we have allegations and all of that and stuff here. Maybe I never read through the whole bill, but we have a problem in the DOE, and I know you know too, of, I'm not gonna say teachers, but people that in education that do grooming. And you know that you heard the name before, right? Grooming. So how are we going to address that if a student maybe wasn't abused after 2 years of grooming, and then she realized that she was being groomed for other things on, I guess, solicitation or more an array of harassment? How are we going to address those issues that we have in the schools too?
Thank you, Senator. In any situation involving what you had just shared, the department does have a process for us to initiate investigations in those immediately, investigations in those areas. And so we definitely will do so with expediency.
And I see that, it talks about, I mean, like I said, I just reading what I have here in a brief of the bill. But how are we going to address coaches who's not affiliated with the DOE? And another thing maybe you can go look into, I just wanted to find out when and why and how come that the DOE decided to not have coaches that are teachers and faculty and going outside the realm of getting non-state employees or employers or employees, going forward and coaching, because in the previous past, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but we got to look into something like that to also take care of our student athletes, because they're being victimized of non-state employees. And then how we're going to move with that one?
Thank you, Senator. Definitely the safety and security of our students is of utmost importance. When we're looking at athletic coaches, you're referring to athletics, yeah?
Yes.
Athletic coaches. The department does look at teachers who are willing to coach, but also it is open to other members of the community that are able to coach at our high schools or at our schools. Definitely, there are interview and processes in place to do our best to ensure the safety of our students. Should an allegation be made, as I had shared, investigations would be launched. But for this bill, in the process of that investigation, if an individual who is with the department decides to resign from the department, then we would, in this situation for teachers, we would immediately ask that their license be surrendered.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions, members? Okay, moving on. House Bill 1653 relating to education. Pursuant to a collective bargaining agreement negotiated for bargaining Unit 5, provides annual salary step increases for public school teachers and educational officers who have completed a year's satisfactory service and comply with specific requirements. Superintendent, please.
Aloha, Chair Kidani, Vice Chair Kim, Chair Ikino, Vice Chair Moriwaki, Sean Bacon, Assistant Superintendent for the Office of Talent Management, testifying on behalf of the department. We stand on our written testimony offering comments and are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Louis Oliveria, Department of Budget and Finance.
Good afternoon, Chairs, Vice Chairs, Louis Oliveria, Department of Budget and Finance. We will stand on our written testimony respectfully in opposition.
Respectfully. Wilbert Hope.
Good afternoon, Chair Kidani, Chair Aquino, Vice Chairs, and members of the committee. My name is Wilbert Holk. I'm the Chief Negotiator with the Office of Collective Bargaining, and we must oppose this bill, basically because wages such as this are negotiable under Chapter 89 of the Collective Bargaining Law. I will be here if there are any questions.
Thank you. Members, questions?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Do you think that there is an issue with this moving forward?
Yeah, I think there are practical implications if we do remove this particular provision. It's currently collectively bargained. So from the standpoint of the employer, because we do bargain step movements, we would just not include that in any forward negotiation that we would do. And in all likelihood, what we would just propose each time would just be increases to base. But since there would be automatic step movements throughout there, the likelihood would be that the ITBs would actually just be smaller amounts than what we currently provide, because there would already be automatic movements outside or within a contract term.
You think there's a timing problem or time problem with the negotiations and moving forward with that?
It would be challenging because, you know, you would be negotiating at any given point in time, but then there would also be movements that are happening outside of negotiations because you have these provisions in statute that would provide for automatic step movements, essentially.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Senator Kim. Would this set a precedent for all other unions?
I believe it could, yes, because this is just one particular unit. And, you know, there are other units that have steps too as well, which we actually, you know, again, bargain when we negotiate both, when we negotiate contracts.
Does this also affect the ability to bargain for other areas? I mean, like, for instance, over the years, I believe that the teachers' union are the only one that get all of their vacation time and sick leave up front? Is that correct?
I'm not sure about that. I would defer to the areas that really kind of handle those types of benefits. I'm just looking at it from the standpoint of wages. And really, there are two particular issues of wages that we negotiate on, and which we, budget and finance, really look forward, that are really involved with. And that's either increases to base and step movements. And so essentially removing one of those provisions basically just leaves us with one particular option that we would be negotiating on.
Right, but when you negotiate, you don't just negotiate the salaries or the steps.
Yes, there are other provisions, but for the most part, we're not involved in a lot of
And when
those.
the employer cannot give certain raises, the unions would ask for other things to compensate at that given time.
That's a possibility.
Which could be in the instances of getting vacation time all up front, because then it gives them more flexibility in lieu of getting the raises that they might have wanted.
Sure.
It's all on the table at the same time.
I guess in viewing it, it's a total compensation package, right? Benefits as well as salaries and wages. And, to be, we support and we continue to support, the educational workers. We just finished, a 4-year contract with them this year, which we believe was very, competitive, but in this particular case, again, we're just looking at it as a tool that we both negotiate on, both the employer and the employee groups. And this would just eliminate one of those provisions that we negotiate on.
Okay. And I know that the unions do also always bring up issues that that's a negotiated item, therefore we shouldn't bring it up in the cases where they don't want it brought up, right?
Understood, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Question?
Chair, hang on, and Mr. Holt, could you come up as well? I'm a process person, meaning we have something in place now. And it's not that I don't support the teachers getting the wage. I think we all know we need to keep stepping this up. But I'm also not wild about partially changing things, because when we start seeing potentially Band-Aid after Band-Aid to fix something that we tried to fix. And from your perspective, and you're the negotiator, I mean, I think I understand what you're saying is your concern, and this could be applicable across other contracts. are we setting ourselves up so we're going to have some stutter steps going forward? And in my mind, I can see this thing starting to snowball, and just comments on that, and both of you, please.
Okay.
I think this does create, as you call it, stutter step, because part of the problem with it is that in the year 2000, the legislature passed Act 253, which was the civil service reform. And within that act, the legislature amended Chapter 89 to give a clear definition of what wages included under Chapter 89. And among other things, one of the things that the legislature determined was that wages included increment steps and longevity steps. And then in 2016, the legislature repealed this very language from HRS 302A626, the education section, to clean it up. So, you know, what you're gonna do is go back and forth, back and forth. I don't know if that's a good thing to do.
And to follow on, I think from a process perspective, I think we've grown accustomed to negotiating against step movements and ITBs, increases to bases, which usually translates into about, you know, on average, I would think for the last couple, anywhere between 3 to 4% each time for each one, like a step movement or an increase to base. But if you have automatic step movements that are happening outside of negotiated agreements, then the reality is that I think you would see ITBs that would probably be a lot smaller than what we've grown accustomed to. I mean, probably in the vicinity of maybe more like between 1 and 2% versus like 3 or maybe 3.5. So there are practical implications by making these changes, and I just want us to make sure that if we do decide to go, that these things are you know, we go into it eyes wide open.
Okay, and I appreciate that because, you know, again, we know that we need to step up, but I don't like changing things. That's why I'm not wild about constitutional amendments or anything like that, because I think there's a process that we have established, and sticking to processes are important for going forward. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, I'm sorry, but we have a few more testifiers.
Could I just ask one? Okay. Just really quickly. So, you know, we've got all these vacancies and we need some incentives, and say the city has gotten bonuses where they get police officers for $25,000 more. Would bonuses be outside of the system so that you're not tampering with the current, I mean, if you really needed to incentivize? So some kind of incentive, you know, to hire? I mean, to attract. So
There are those, and I'm not an HR expert, but there are, you know, bonuses and incentives, especially for, you know, hard to recruit type positions and different types of categories. So there are those types of incentives that exist.
Something rather than trying to tamper with the system, as Senator Richards says, you know, that in this bill.
I think that would be a path that would essentially kind of, you know, again, take away a negotiating tool for both the employer and the employee group going forward, yes.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Joy Bulasan.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Nui Sabas with HGEA, we sent on our written comments.
Thank you. Osatui.
Aloha chairs, members of the committee, Laverne Moore speaking on behalf of Osa Tui, President of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. The HSD stands on our written testimony, and I want to give history. When I started in 1970, in 22 years, I would have been at the top of the scale. We got automatic step movements, and then when you get to step 10, you stay for 3 years, then 3 years, 3 years. Well, in 1989, the legislature took away our automatic step movement. And in 1992, I was supposed to be at the top of the salary schedule. I came to the top of the salary schedule in 2006, 36 years after I started teaching. And now that I'm at the top of the salary scale, when teachers move a step, I get a bonus. at least the bonus counts towards my high 3. I believe that giving us back our automatic step movement, and when you get to the top, you get a bonus, is the way to attract and recruit our teachers. The legislature took away our automatic step movements. The legislature can give it back to us. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. John Fitzpatrick.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify in this measure? Okay, members, are there questions? Other questions? Okay, moving on to the last item on our agenda, House Bill 2401 HD1 relating to workers' compensation. To testify, Superintendent, please.
Chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee, I'm Tamara Chan for the Department of Education, standing our written testimony in support.
Thank you. Martha Guinan. Testifying in support for Special Education Advisory Council. Is there anyone else here wishing to testify on this measure? If not, recess.
Okay, reconvening our joint agenda, 3:02 p.m. with the Education and Labor and Technology Committees.
So, members, the recommendation of the Chair of the Committee on Education for House Bill 2400 HD2 would be to pass with amendments effecting the date to July 1, 2050. I see, okay. 2400 HD2 pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Members, HB 2400 HD2 passed with amendments. Chair Kidani votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Hashimoto.
Aye.
Senator Richards.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
5 ayes, recommendation adopted.
Okay, Labor and Technology Committee, same recommendations. Questions or concerns? Vice Chair for the vote.
HB 2400, passed with amendments. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Ihara?
Aye.
Senator Lee?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
Aye.
5 votes. No, the recommendation adopted.
Thank you. For the next one, House Bill 1653 HD1 relating to education. Recommendation of the chair is to defer.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the last measure, and for LBT, for that, the same measure, House Bill 1653, same recommendation. Okay, moving on to the last House Bill 2401, House Draft 1 relating to workers' compensation. Members, the recommendation is to move that as a House Draft 1 with technical amendments and a effective date of July 1st, 2050. Questions or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair votes aye.
2401, Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Ihara?
Aye.
Senator Lee?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
Aye.
Recommendation adopted.
Committee on Education, same recommendation. Chair votes aye.
Another voting sheet. Okay, for House Bill
2401.
House Draft 1, recommendation to pass with amendments.
Chair votes aye.
Any members in the Education Committee voting with reservations? Anyone voting no? If not, 5 members present, all voting aye, recommendations adopted.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much. Okay, joint committees on labor and technology and health and human services, joint agenda, 3:10 PM. It's Monday, March 18th, conference room 224. We just have one measure, House Bill 2552, House Draft 1 relating to employee benefits. Members and members of the public, we have a limit of 2 minutes. Okay, but it's okay to stand on your written testimony because again, thank you for indulgence. We're a little late. Okay, but I'd like to move forward because we do have one more agenda after this. Okay, thank you very much. So up first, the only bill, House Bill 2552, House Draft 1 related to employee benefits. Okay, up first, you have Department of Labor Industrial Relations. Okay, thank you very much. DCAP, Kirby Shaw, Director, Executive Director. Okay, in support, DHS, Director Betts. Also in support, HSTA.
Laverne Moore, speaking on behalf of OSA Tui, President of the Hawaii State Teachers Association. We sent on our written testimony, and I would like to testify on my nephew was born 1 pound, 2 ounces back in 1983. And I went in there, they told my sister-in-law and my brother that he wouldn't make it. I went in there and had the nurses do what I had learned in college in special ed, that you play music, you talk to him, you touched him, and every day we would go in and talk to him and take him out of the incubator. And to this day, he's okay. And so it can be done. This is an important bill. We can save our children. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Laverne. Okay, up next we have Nicole Wu, Hawaii Children's Action Network speaks.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Thank you very much for hearing this bill. We support this bill. It's 8 weeks of unpaid leave added to Hawaii family leave law for parents whose babies are in the NICU, especially in a state like Hawaii, where so many families' babies end up at Kapiolani, even if they're from neighbor islands. These parents are put in a really tough position. They have to be with their babies, but then they can also lose their jobs. So this is just some protection for these really precious little babies and their parents who really need to be there for them. So thank you for letting me testify.
Okay, thank you very much. Up next, we have the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission.
Aloha, chairs and vice chairs. Heather McVeigh on behalf of the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission. The commission supports this bill. We're happy to increase protection for Hawaii's working families and people that have children. The only thing I would like to highlight is that we would ask the committees to consider adopting the suggested statutory amendment language that we provided that would, for the empowering statute, just give a full enforcement in addition to the administrative rule. So thank you. I'll be here for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, up next, Patricia Billick, Breastfeeding Hawaii. Okay, in support, Doris Matsunaga, Deb Nemad, Don Poiani. Okay, all in support. And we have Todd Taniguchi.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, also in support. Any others wishing to testify? Okay, yes.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying in strong support on behalf of CARES. So newborn babies who need intensive medical care are often put into a special area of the hospital called the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit, the NICU. The NICU has advanced technology and trained healthcare professionals to give special care for the tiniest patients. NICUs may also provide care for babies who are not sick, but do need specialized nursing care. And so when the babies are in the intensive care, they need more time for the families to go and care for their babies. And so, before birth, the baby depends on the functions from the mother. And these include breathing, eating, elimination of waste, and immune protection. When a baby leaves the womb, the body system then has to adapt, right? For example, the cardiac and pulmonary circulation functions, the digestive system will start to process food and push out waste, and the kidneys will start to work to balance the fluids and the chemicals and the blood in the body. And then the liver and the immune system will start to work on its own. So this is all a very complex matter. And so if we can help with the care of creating a healthier lifestyle for the families that need to go because they need the neonatal intensive care unit, we should provide that in the provision for them. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any others wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none, members, questions? Okay, seeing no questions yet. Yeah. All right, okay, we're gonna go straight into decision making. Okay. Yes. I'll do it for you. Sure. Okay, decision making for House Bill 2552, House Draft 1 relating to employee benefits. Yeah, members' recommendation after conferring with the Chair of Health and Human Services, we're going to be recommending an SD1. We're going to be inserting the requested amendments of the Hawaii Civil Rights Commission, specifically in Section 4 to include neonatal care in Chapter 378, and which is the empowering statute of the Civil Rights Commission. And also, members, we're going to make this a clean bill of July 1st, 2024. Okay, any questions or concerns, members? Okay, again, this is unpaid. This is 8 additional weeks. Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote, Chair votes aye.
So House Bill 2552, Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Ihara.
Aye.
Senator Lee.
Aye.
Senator Philbella, excused. Recommendation is up.
Thank you. For HHS, same recommendation. Vice Chair for the vote, Chair votes aye.
Okay, Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Keokolole.
Aye.
Senator Shinwikuro.
Aye.
Senator Awa is excused. Recommendation is adopted, Chair. Okay, all right, so we're adjourned. Thank you. Okay, stand by for the 3:30. Again, thank you for your patience, everyone. Okay. 3:30 p.m. agenda. It's Monday, March 18th, Committee on Labor and Technology. Okay, just a number of bills on this agenda. In the event that we need to reconvene for further business or decision-making, we'll be reconvening on Wednesday, 3:05 p.m. in room 224. Okay, first we have House Bill 2658, House Draft 1. Okay, related to Department of Human Resources Development. Okay, first we have the Director. Okay, thank you, Director. Any others wishing to testify? Seeing none, members' questions? Okay, no questions. Okay, let's move on to the next measure.
Last one. This one.
Oh, you want to?
Yeah, one quick
Vice
one.
Chair.
So with this change, it will decrease the amount of time that you can reclassify because you don't have to come back to the legislature before actually reclassifying or eliminating positions. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I should note, though, that DHRE, to my knowledge, has never exercised this authority to abolish or to reclassify a position.
But it will expedite if you had to do it.
Yes, correct.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, members. Any other questions? If not, moving on, House Bill 1642, House Draft 1, related to general employee orientation. Okay, first we have HGEA.
Newly Established HGEA, we stand on our written testimony support.
Okay, thank you very much. United Public Workers.
Chair, Vice Chair, Kamala UPW, stand on our written testimony support.
Okay, thank you very much. Any others wishing to testify? Okay, seeing none, members, questions? Okay. Questions?
That's okay.
Okay, moving on to House Bill 2235, House Draft 1. Okay, related to non-general funds. Okay, up first we have Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. Okay, thank you very much. Up next we have Tax Foundation. Yamachika.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any others wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, questions?
I don't know if you can answer, but you, David. So, you know the, oh, you want to announce yourself?
David Rogers with the DLIR.
So it's exempting the boiler and elevator from the special fund, no, not that one, but, yeah.
The Central Services
Yeah.
Fund. So that's a fee that the
yeah,
BNF
so
charges.
do you know why they said that they were exempted from it?
That was an agreement we worked out with the BNF. Because the fund only generates between like 1 to 2.5 million. I think it wasn't enough anyway. So I guess exempting it would allow the fund to have more money in it.
And then, you know, the penalties fund is changing from special fund to trust fund. Do you know why?
Is based on the auditor's report, from my understanding.
So no, but the reason for moving it from a special fund to a trust fund?
Because BNF believed that it's best suited as a general fund thing, not a special fund. It wasn't, yeah.
But put it into trust?
Yeah.
So you can draw down more, or is there a cap? Like the special fund, there's a cap, right? So,
I guess because with the special fund, they weren't able, I mean, they were able to keep the money just for those purposes, right? But
so this is more general use?
yes, it's more general use now.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, let's move on to the last measure, House Bill 1639, House Draft 1. Relating to the EUTF, thank you for your patience. Up first, we have Derek Mizuno.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Derek Mizuno, Administrator. We stand on our written testimony.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any others wishing to testify? Okay, members, questions? Okay, we heard a similar measure in the Senate. Okay, no questions. I believe we're gonna go directly into decision making. Okay. So up first, House Bill 2658, House Draft 1. Okay, relating to Department of Human Resources Development. This would repeal a certain report requirement. Members, the recommendation is to move this as a Senate Draft 1 with technical amendments and a effective date of July 1st, 2050. Questions or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Ihara?
Aye.
Senator Lee?
Aye.
Favela excused, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you very much, members. Moving on to House Bill 1642, House Draft 1, relating to general employee orientation. Members, the recommendation is to move this as a Senate Draft 1. Technical amendments, and we will be making this bill clean of July 1st, the effective date of July 1st, 2024. Questions or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
HB 1642, all members present, anyone voting no, with reservation, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to House Bill 2235, House Draft 1, relating to non-general funds. Members, the recommendation would be to move this as a Senate Draft 1, technical amendments, and we're going to move it up a little bit to July 1st, 2050. Questions or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
All members present, anyone voting no, with reservation, recommendation adopted.
Okay, moving on to the last bill, House Bill 1639, House Draft 1. Okay, for this one, we will be moving this as a Senate Draft 1 with technical amendments and effective date of July 1st, 2024.
Anyone voting no, anyone with reservation, recommendation adopted.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, colleagues and members of the public. Thank you very much for your patience. We're adjourned.